So I'm gonna do this video a lot of my journey and awareness and experiences are focused on religion and spirituality and bridging the two. And I have helped people from different walks and different beliefs, and my story, there's a common thread of resistance of worthiness that I also see in others, relating back to the core understanding of biblical understanding. And through my journey, I had to purge and release, and it was different ways that I did it, what I was taught or what I was told versus what my inner self felt conflicted in. And the human mind basically, through experiences in life, clings to a hierarchy understanding, a understanding that someone else holds power over us, someone else makes things happen or doesn't make things happen. And so automatically when you enter into that consciousness or that belief system, it puts you under someone else. Okay, just like in the physical world, if you have a boss, it's that kind of thing. And I also feel like if your beliefs are not limiting you to experience healing or experience joy or experience connection or to experience God or to experience whatever it is that brings peace, that there's no conflict. But the theme that I keep seeing is the consciousness of that God or Jesus is higher than me, and so therefore my worthiness is not, like, basically when we go into the understanding of sin, we go into the understanding of, basically, let's just stick with the concept of what biblically is understood in a hierarchy system. There's gods, there's angels, there's demons, there's humans, there's elements, right? Which we see all that in the physical world. But the Bible is also very intermeshed with words and phrases that liken yourself, myself, to Jesus or God. And anyone who's studied the Bible or, connects to a religious understanding will understand what I'm talking about. And if you don't, this message is not for you. And so I see these patterns repeating with, different clients. And I know part of, years ago when I started on this journey, I'm not going to go into the whole story of the journey, but parts of my journey, once I learned to understand spirit, how they talk to me, and again, that's up for debate too, right? Because you can say my higher self, you can say God, you can say universe, you can say spirits, you can say all those different terms, but at the end of the day, you're having a conscious, connected interaction with a source that is moving through you, working through you. And so you can call it whatever you want to call it. People over time have gotten really stuck on that their term is right, or and someone else is wrong. But the point is, energetically, you're having a conversation with the universe. And the conversation comes in different forms. And that's where we talk about the clairs, and people learn how to trust what they feel, what they know, what they hear, what they see. And we all have these aspects. Some are more shut down than others. Some people's experiences have, led them to distrust themselves or distrust what they feel. So there's a lot of conflict. Also, experiences of some people, they're always waiting for someone outside to tell them. It's just like the priest knows more, or your boss knows more, or such and such knows more. Somebody above you, somebody outside of you is going to tell you the answers and knows more. And my job is to teach people how to trust what they know. But in order to trust what they know, they have to separate a belief system which is holding them back in any kind of aspect of fear. So whether it's what they're told, or if they're scared of, well, maybe it's not an angel, maybe it's the devil, maybe it's all these things. The core understanding is, how does it make you feel? And getting people back to trusting what they feel and honoring what they feel. And so anyways, I feel like, obviously through my work I go, okay, well, we can't break all the boundaries that have been put in place over thousands and thousands of years of a belief system being ingrained. Okay, but if you go back pre-Bible, if you read, and if you research, and if you do the work, you can find a lineage of understanding of symbology. And it's also consistent through the Bible, through the Torah, through hieroglyphics, and pre that too. Okay, I'm not here to debate all the scientific parts of it, but I do a lot of research. And so for me, when my journey started, I started to meditate. And in my meditations, I realized that, first of all, what most people realize once they start to break away from old patterns of belief, which hold them back, and understand that spirit is good, and it doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you have a connection with it and you trust it. In order to do that, you must trust yourself. So if you're in a place of conflict with feeling, I see a lot of this, okay? I have a lot of people who come who align with Christianity, and I have nothing bad to say about Christianity or any kind of religion, because I think there is truth in all of it. My part is to show where the block is. So let's say I have a lot of people with Christianity beliefs, and in that enmeshed experience, there is a system of belief that they're prescribing to, which is, there is a hierarchy system. And how could they be worthy to receive insight like Jesus did, right? Jesus was a messenger of God, right? And if you go through the Bible, you can go through all the aspects where it's written of, I don't even know how many times, the comparison of Jesus to you. So it all depends on how you interpret and in what perception you're placing yourself in the hierarchy. So for me, in my beginning of my journey, I had to really go through layers of releasing worthiness, that I was worthy to have this gift, because my belief system constricted me from that understanding. I was in the same understanding that now the people come to me with, which is there is hierarchy, and and so what I'm experiencing and seeing with other people is the worthiness aspect really is holding them back. And it's very conflicting with what Christianity even stands for anyways, because Christianity really ultimately stands for faith, trust, the basics, the core understanding of what it's supposed to represent. But I have all these people who come to me who are in despair and in the toggle between what I should experience versus what I am experiencing. And it's very conflicting, because ultimately what I keep saying is they don't trust themselves, which I know that experience well because I was there. So I keep going, well, how do we build the bridge to this? What is the bridge? Well, the bridge is, okay, partly how I channel, it validates the person's experience. So, once I also got into this work, I realized there is no difference from when the time the Bible was written to the time now, or even predating before that the universe, God, speaks to everyone. And you're a part of that. You're one with that. And, any spiritual person will tell you nature, when you are in the sun, when you are near the waves, when you're in the grass, right? You are enmeshed in that vibration of universe or God. You're in that experience. And what this is really about too is separation. So we came into the physical plane, we separated from God or source energy. So I like to describe it like if the sun, the sun, and all these particles break out of the sun. So imagine all of us are a particle of the sun, and then we come down into the physical world, and so we're separate from that sun, that we were all together, then we broke off in pieces, and our souls came into different bodies. And in that experience, we're experiencing separation. But ultimately, that separation is illusion, because even though those particles broke off into different pieces, our souls, we are still connected to that source, okay, to the sun, to God. We're still connected to that. So the illusion that we go through in darkness, in separation, is in the physical world. And in the physical world, many people are coming back into remembering their source, but it conflicts with what they've learned, right? And this is what we call the awakening. A lot of spiritual teachers, they talk about it in different ways. Ultimately, it's a very simple concept. There's unity and there's separation. And in the physical world, we're experiencing separation, but it is an illusion, because once you come back into the conscious awareness that you are connected to that source that feels that you're separate from, you can have, let's fly, you can have a communication with, right? And this is what a lot of people talk about, right? The Holy Spirit, spirit, God, nature, whatever it is. So people call it different things. People subscribe to different words, but it is, what matters is that you're having conscious contact with it, and you're letting it move you, and you're trusting it, and you're allowing it. Now listen, even I get into mental conflict and go, is that really what I feel? Is that what you're saying, Spirit? Blah, 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 right? These talks in my head, because we all struggle with, trusting to a degree, okay? And so people are on a different spectrum of trust. But when we place ourselves at the lower end of the spectrum of unworthiness, which connects to hierarchy, you feel more separate. And so what I'm seeing is this whole subscription to I am Christian, or I am this, or I am that. Through that experience, through my lens and my experience, I'm seeing a lot of judgment energy, a lot of separation energy, a lot of hierarchy energy. Someone's right, someone's wrong. Very duality, very, very black and white. And so I guess what my message is today is, if your belief system is serving you and propelling you and and you are in communication with the universe, with God. No one's here to take that apart for you, right? Because at the end of the day, I've learned from Spirit, a butterfly just flew by. I've learned from Spirit that basically if I say God or Spirit, it's tomato, tomato. Human concept is putting a perception on an experience and then calling it something. And this is also related to the Bible too. Also, everything that man touches gets a consciousness connection to darkness, meaning that how people, where someone's at in their understanding or where someone's at in their belief can easily translate something differently that actually came from source or from the light or from God. And the translation is what has been argued over time and time again. But there's threads throughout all religions where there is a unity connection or an understanding, a consciousness line to connect to, which is the inner self, trusting, having faith, surrendering. And that's part of our experience of, as we walk through the physical world, there's a guidance system. It's like the lighthouse that I see in my head right now, right? There's always this guidance post that continues to point and steer direction wise. And I think each person comes to this guiding post at their own time, and usually it's through an experience of darkness. So, okay, here's the next part. I have a lot of people who say or subscribe to the belief system that darkness is outside of them. So people call it different things. People call it attachments. People call it demons, entities, whatever you want to call it. But in my work, Spirit always shows me how wherever there is darkness, there is a lack of responsibility. And so Spirit always turns it back to what are we creating and what are we subscribing to that belief. Because that belief also manifests that energy more so, and that experience to be more so. So let's just say, I had someone say to me recently, bad things happen to bad people. And so she was stuck in despair that she must be a bad person, even though she's a Christian, because bad things keep happening to her. And of course, my understanding is like, no, okay? Experiences of darkness happen, whatever you want to call it. Experiences happen in order to, and anyone who has ever overcome something of darkness, like grief or separation, or, right? We have these physical experiences in the physical world with other people that almost mirror that separation experience from God or source. And so ultimately, this is what it's teaching us. That darkness or despair energy, that lower vibration energy we're experiencing it in the physical world to propel us back into the light, to propel us back into unity consciousness. And so those experiences keep coming and keep coming. And, in my experience, it's like Spirit keeps knocking, right? They keep knocking. But the way it looks when they're knocking looks like a shit show, because things in the physical life of a person look out of control. Okay, so relationships, jobs, drugs, whatever the experience is that person's having, loss of a child, grief, loss of a sibling, any experience of separation, it also mirrors the experience of separation from God. And you'll hear, if you, when you do this work, or if you understand, you know, even if you just had an experience with someone in life, basically, a lot of times people, when they go into despair and darkness, you will experience that someone's angry at God, right? They're angry at someone because of this. And that's what we're also seeing in the physical world, right? There's right and wrong, and this person's angry at that person because you're doing this to us, or you're doing this, right? So the power is outside of us, right? So ultimately everyone has all these reasons to be angry. The journey back to self and self-revelation, and that also aligns to revelation in the Bible, all these bad things happen. And the revelation is when the light comes on and you remember that you are that particle. You are that source. You are that God. You are that. So there's a journey back to from separation, which is of self, of God, of universe, whatever you want to call it. There's a journey back to self, which also brings your power back. But there's a road of it in the process of discernment of, why do I feel what I feel? Okay, a lot of times people take on things that they don't necessarily need to take on. A lot of times people, one bad thing happens, and then, then it's bad choice after bad choice after bad choice. And then they're so far from the light. So, right, separation's so grand that it looks like a mountain to climb. And so it's different experiences for different people. I'm trying to speak collectively here to trigger different aspects of people's experience. And at the end of the day, when you're having experience with spirit, and that's what happens when I channel, or when I'm doing a reading, is that the person has had all their own experiences with Source, and has had all their own experiences with their spirits, their loved ones. And when they come sit with me, then they have this experience, and whoever does this work, when they come sit with someone who does this, they have this experience which validates their experience. And so hope grows, and peace grows, and and there's different things. Some people are afraid that, because of their religious beliefs, that their person who committed suicide is in hell, right? So there's all these limits of why people come and seek out an understanding or a validation. And I see a lot of people toggle with, what religion says. And again, it's up for interpretation, just like everything is. Because anyone that could condemn someone else for something biblically, I'm sure they could also be condemned for something biblically. So the point is, if the experience is serving you, if the experience is bringing you back into light, even if it's an illusion of darkness, right? An illusion of struggle, an illusion of challenge, that eventually the point is to come back into the light. The point is to come back into awareness. The point is to come back into unity consciousness. And so that journey is one pivotal part, is taking your power back. And taking your power back is when you come to the space where you release that you are unworthy to be able to commune with Spirit, God, and that you also can have the awareness that people call it different things, but it is essentially the same thing. It's essentially the same energy vibration. And then there's this journey back to finding reasons to be happy, finding reasons to find joy, right? Looking for the sun, as opposed to living in a place of that bad things always happen. And And so, everyone has a different journey of back to self, basically. But that's what part of what I do teaches is it's not just, now sometimes it is. Sometimes it's just, okay, I have such and such here, right? And this is what they're saying, da 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 da. And it validates that person's grief, and that person just needs to know they're safe. But the bigger portion of this is the awakening codes, which is people are having heightened awareness experiences, and people are searching for the truth in themselves and externally. And, through my experience, Spirit provides that. Now, listen, if your experience that a certain word of teaching or a certain lineage of understanding serves you to feel peace and to feel joy and to feel comfort, then great. And if it's not, I feel like that's what needs to be evaluated. What needs to be evaluated is, how is this serving me? And sometimes I think, I'm a mixed bag of all kinds of things, because, and good luck to anyone who tries to figure me out, because I really am, many aspects of the church I'm drawn to, many aspects of, of preachings and teachings and knowledge and music and inspiration I'm extremely drawn to. And so it's a very mixed bag for me of what I subscribe to, because at one minute I can be listening to, hymns, and the next minute I'm listening to, drumming spiritual flute music. The next minute I'm listening to Fleetwood Mac, right? Right? It's a mixed bag. Just like my music, my beliefs are also a mixed bag. And I'm also very mindful about the word belief, because at the end of the day, I am a student, right? I am a student of the universe, and my job is to not limit what I can learn or what I can understand. And so there's this journey and walk of realizations and processing information, and then releasing old parts, and many times it's cycles where things will come back, worthiness, and I can get into a whole other arena too, and go into, childhood and past life and all that. But ultimately, the experience back is, how do I reach joy again? How do I reach peace again? And how do I do that without an external force? How do I do that without someone else behaving, right? If I'm living through this daily life and I keep having experiences where people are not kind to me, or, my relationship's bad, or my boss is not kind, and every moment those things happen, my inner peace is taken away. That right there is a perfect example of how your inner power is given away to someone else. So everyone else has the ability to affect your inner peace, which is all of your inner power is gone. Your inner power comes back when you can observe an experience, when you can observe that rude boss, and you can be in awareness that it's not personal. And when you're in a relationship and the person's not kind, or the person's doing this, the person's doing that, and you can observe and go, it's not personal. And so we toggle with this. People are at different aspects of understanding this. We toggle with this. But ultimately, the road back to peace and freedom, and the road back to God, the road back to unity, the road back to source, the road back to self, is Spirit moves through me, and this experience propels me, and I am in awareness of always learning. I am just observing. I am creating as I'm moving, right? Because then we go back to, I am the creator, because I am source, I am God, right? That energy moves through me. So spirit works hand in hand of consciously creating. And so that's all. I feel like that's what I wanted to share today. I feel like I do get triggered by, and it's because of my own experiences, I get triggered when I see people in such despair, and the despair ultimately is because of what they've been taught. And so I relate to that pain. I relate to that consciousness because I remember feeling a lack of freedom, and I didn't even experience it bad this lifetime. In other videos I've said that, and other things I teach, but mine goes much further back, right? I've had much exploration and where my triggers come from, why that lack of freedom of self or expression of self or creativity. And also I just thought about, the younger generation and the youth who have even a more conscious connection to source, to God, that their creativity, it's bursting to get out. It's like, I think about someone who just, their soul cannot work a 9-to-5 job. Their soul just is guided to create. And so, I see all different spectrums, but all of us are really like that. Inherently, all of us are really, it's just the younger generation, you can see it and it's alive, and it's and then at some point it's like, I almost feel like I'm watching a little bit with my, with my siblings, where it's like, I'm growing up, and I'm sure I'll see it with my kids too, and then it's like what I'm supposed to do versus what I feel to do. And so there's conflict of creativity, which is also separation. So anyways, I hope this was helpful in some aspect. I just felt like it's been in me to address the whole religion versus spirituality. And at the end of the day, it's, no matter what you subscribe to, if it allows growth, if it allows inspiration, if it allows connection, if it allows unity, then so be it, right? So be it. And if it's suffocating in any aspect, if it's conflicted in any aspect, it's just a place to start with and look at. One of the questions I addressed to a client this week was, Spirit said to me, who were you before you were told who you are? And then I drew a line at the end of it. Basically, like, Spirit was asking me to ask her to remember, right? And so there's this aspect of, that's kind of where to start with. Where to start is, if something feels conflicting or suffocating to you in your experience, ask yourself, who was I? And a lot of times you will be taken back to childhood, or to create a creative facet in your life. I used to draw, and used to write, and used to sing, and used to do all these things creative, and I still always did that to an extent, but I got less and less as I got older. And then when I had my many different awakening experiences of who I am, not in this physical world, who I am in a soul aspect, I learned how to tap back into those creativities, and that was part of my soul speaking. So anyways, I hope some of this was helpful today, and love you guys.